Good morning. Welcome to Against the Public for February 1st. Hard to believe 1 month is already down in 2025, but it is the first of the month, which means I will be on Pickdawgz.com and I will be prorating all my long-term season packages, the specific sports season packages, not the all-access packages. But get back on Pickdawgz.com. See if there's something in there that's adjacent to what you would like to spend on your bankroll, and let's rip up the rest of the season. Whether it's the NBA, NHL, I will have a Major League Baseball early bird pass up there too. That will save you a bunch of money if you get involved before the first spring training game. So that will be up there. Please go to Pickdawgz.com and take a look at all the new packages. Before we get today's free play, let's update all our all access numbers. Over the last 7 days, all access customers 42 and 25, 63% run over the previous 7 days, 1,562 units of profit. That's number one on Pickdawgz.com. Last 30 days, 57% winners, good for 3,302 units of profit. Also number one on Pickdawgz.com. And I've said this a lot because I feel like it's really true. I mean, when you have the numbers to say, hey, this is what we've done, it's so much better than the hype. And so I don't need hype, and I don't need to show you my resume. When you have the numbers right in front of you, and there's been so many people that have had a successful January, and certainly we're primed to have another great month in February. If you're contemplating an all-access pass, well, the time is definitely now, considering it's the first day of the month. You give me a shot for 30 days. If you did that in January, you'd be up over 3,300 units. To start 2025. Not a bad start. In fact, probably one of my best starts, if not the best start I've had as a professional handicapper. So you hit that link below, see how we did on Friday. I'm Dana Lane. Thanks for joining me. And before we get to our free play today, I just want to go through a massive card on Saturday. And we're going to start things off in college basketball as we usually do. We'll start things off with Pittsburgh and Wake Forest at 9 o'clock. And my goal really is to take you from the opening tip of college basketball Saturday right through the late Hawaii game. And that's what we're going to do tomorrow. And I'm going to throw 7 games up there. Usually, I don't like to put any more than 5 or 6 maybe on a weekend. But this card looks so good that I feel like I'm compelled to put that up. But I also want to keep in mind what you would rather do, and that's why I put 3 games up usually per sport per day, because I feel like my customers are pretty comfortable with that. I don't want to put up a massive amount of games. I've done that in the past, and it has not worked out well. So part of winning and part of beating this game that we love to play every day is also managing your bankroll. So if you put up 15 games a day in one sport, I'm not sure that that's properly manage your bankroll, because it could backfire on you. And I'm also trying to protect your bankroll as well. So this is what college basketball customers have done. Over the last 7 days, we've cashed 63% winners, 502 units of profit, 63 and 43, 59% winners over the last 30 days, 1,570 units of profit. That's number one overall at Pickdawgz.com. That's just in college basketball. 56% winners this entire season, plus 2,381 units of profit. I'm going to have probably my biggest card tomorrow. I will also have a 5-pack inside that 7-gamer that will feature my biggest plays for one low price. Don't let another day pass you by. We are smoking in college basketball. Saturday is not going to be any different. 9-game card in the NBA, where we're really starting to thrive. NBA customers are doing exceptionally well. Well, I'm a 9-game card, or NBA has a 9-game card. 71% documented NBA winners on Pickdawgz.com over the last 7 days. 837 units of profit. That's number one overall after sweeping our Thursday card. 55% winners over the last 30 days as well. So great long-term results to go with our results over the last 7 days. 9-game card in the NHL. We'll have another 3-pack on the ice too. All plays, records, documented at Pickdawgz.com almost hourly. So for better or worse, you go on a losing streak, well, those games will be up there too. So that's one of the things I love and one of the things I don't love about Pick Dawgz. It's like, man, I got to win because everybody can see when I'm not, but right now we're doing exceptionally well. So that adds up to a 13-game schedule for Saturday's All Access members. And of course, you can become an All Access member if you haven't already. Just jump on a 3-day pass, 7-day. We have a 30-day pass. In fact, a lot of you this past week jumped on an annual All Access pass, and you can get that for just $4.11 a day. Get every play that I release for one low price over the next 365 days. So that carries you all the way through the Major League Baseball season. It carries you almost right to the Super Bowl next year. Definitely through the college football season, the start of the NBA, NHL. You get the idea. So jump on board with any of those. Get a long-term pass, and that way you can kind of sit back and relax and say, okay, well, I'm going to put my trust in one handicapper, so I don't bounce around. Because I always feel like, even if you don't use me and you bounce around a little bit, I think that's where guys get in trouble. But if you stay with one capper, whether it's me or somebody else, I think you're going to find better results over a long period of time. Okay, let's get to our free play. We'll head to college basketball. Game 6-11, 6-12. Creighton Blue Jays take on the Villanova Wildcats starting at 10 o'clock Eastern Time. Check that, 1 o'clock Eastern Time, 10 o'clock Pacific. Villanova, 1.5-point favorite across the board. Consensus total of 142.5. We do see some 143s at 143.5 at some smaller books, but we'll use 142.5. As the consensus number. Creighton ranked 21st in the nation, 15-6 straight up, 12-7-1 ATS, 12-9 to the under. Blue Jays are on a roll after winning their 7th straight game their 7th straight official cover with a 86-77 win against Xavier on Wednesday. They were 7-point favorite in that game, so that's a good quality win. Depending really on what number you had in that St. John's game, you could be on a 9-game win streak with the Jays. Officially, they're 11-1-1 ATS over the last 13 games. Villanova 12-9 straight up, 10-11 ATS, 14-7 to the under. Wildcats are coming off their 3rd loss in 4 games, in 5th straight failed cover after a loss to Marquette, 87-74, which is they were 9.5-point dog, but it's not a surprise they lost at Marquette. They have made a habit of doing that. I think Marquette's won 9 or 8 straight games against Villanova. They've rotated over-under results in their last 8 games, with Marquette going over the total, in case you were following that trend. I've seen these teams play a lot, and first glance, the number struck me as strange. I thought Creighton was going to be around 4, but when I really dug into the resume, I realized maybe this number is, sometimes I have to determine whether or not it's a bad number or if it's a trap number. And I think in some ways, maybe it lies somewhere in between. When I see a number that doesn't coincide with what I think, I always try to find out why. I mean, what is the odds makers what do they see that I'm not seeing? And sometimes you have to kind of blindly trust it. Maybe they know something that you don't, which, my ego will tell me that's hard to believe. But sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I know in the NHL, they put up bad numbers. There's more times than not, they'll put up some bad numbers. So I don't get too excited, especially when we're talking about moneyline sports. But when we are talking about point spread sports, that's where I try to dig a little bit deeper, because somebody's seeing something that I'm not. So maybe we found that. They had a run of games against bad offensive teams, and by they I mean Creighton. So they played Seton Hall, they played DePaul, they played Providence. They held their own against UConn and Marquette. So that's not really it either. Teams that they should have beaten, but they also were good against teams that were going to give them a lot of problems, or could give them problems. This is a team that is starting to see that maturity come to fruition, which is something that you see out of Greg McDermott's team. This is really the time where Creighton just starts to get better, and you can see that too, because they're getting a lot of bench scoring too. And so the more bench scoring that a team gets, I think the more dangerous they are as the season goes on. And certainly Creighton's in that discussion as far as teams that are dangerous. For the Wildcats, well, if I was McDermott, I would speed the pace up in this game for sure. I would force the Cats to play catch up, but and the reason is if you watch them against Marquette, they seem very uncomfortable in that role. And I think that Marquette was just an avalanche. First of all, they were playing in a place that they hardly ever win against a team they hardly ever beat. And I think it was just an avalanche that they could not dig out of. Now, they play well for 15, 16 minutes of that game until Marquette took it over. But I think this might be a situation where it will be a little bit different result because, first of all, this is not that is not the type of basketball that Creighton likes to play. Creighton's a very methodical team that it's a very high percentage shooting team, but they are not a team that typically will try to run you out of the gym. Now a this becomes a situation where Kyle Neptune will say, okay, well, we know that we can run with Creighton, and we do like to push the pace. And in fact, not only do we want to push the pace, but we want to amp up that defensive intensity, that intensity that we really did not see in that Marquette game. They've lost 3 of their last 4 games, or 2 of their last 3 games. But you will have to say, and you throw Marquette out the window, but you could say, hey, look, that the intensity was there. They never gave up. I never thought they gave up against St. John's. There was people, I didn't see that game, but there was people there at the game that told me they were just up against a better basketball team. So really, if you go through their schedule and look at games that I've seen and then what other people have seen and have told me, there's really not a game where they give up. And we talked the other day about words that I like to hear at press conferences, like teams lack intensity, gave up, came out, didn't come out well, or didn't start the game well. All those things I kind of put in the back of my mind. But for Villanova, yeah, they've lost some games, but 2 of those, the games that we just mentioned, 2 of those games that they lost, I think were by a combined 7 points. So they could actually be on a 3-game run if the ball just bounced a couple different ways. But this is how I expect them to play after the loss. And we saw this against UConn. I think they really tried to ramp up the intensity against Marquette. I just think that they just didn't have it that night. But when they played against UConn, they were a different basketball team. I think they're going to be much more comfortable at home. I think they're going to be less sloppy, less passes thrown at the knees and at the ankles like we saw against Marquette. And for me, this is a desperate team that needs a quality win. Considering their best win is probably that Cincinnati game where they were 6-point under or 4-point underdog, and they ended up winning that game. But we've seen Cincinnati after that kind of take a downturn, and they're only 12-8 this year. So I don't think that's a quality win. So they're really still looking for that first quality win of the year. This game is going to be a battle of pace, meaning the Wildcats have to dictate the pace here, and the total of this game indicates to me that the odds makers think that they will. I think this is a little bit higher. This is a higher total than what Creighton is used to having in their games, so the odds makers are telling me they think Villanova is going to control pace. I think the devil is also in the details in this game. The Cats are one of the best rebounding teams in the country, and you might say, well, because they don't shoot well. Well, that's not true. They do shoot well. They're still one of the best rebounding teams in the country. In fact, they're really good on the offensive end of the court as well. And I think that is where the strength for the weakness comes in, because I don't always think Creighton is very good on their offensive glass. I think they take possessions off at times. I think they're so worried about, their 3-point shooting that sometimes on defense, I think they take large parts of the game off as far as intensity level in the name of getting out into transition again. So I think that Creighton is the better basketball team. But I think in this game, in this scenario, and a team that is desperate at home, who is better on the glass, I think Villanova wins this game, and I think they pull away in the second half. Now, that's kind of going out on a limb here because on a neutral court, I do think Creighton's a better team. And no, I'm going on and on about this, but we're going to take Villanova as your free play, -1.5. 1.5 at home. Now go to pickdawgz.com, where every individual play and every discounted long-term pass is locked and loaded on the website, including that annual all-access pass for just $4.11 a day. I can't thank you enough for joining me. I hope everybody has a great weekend. We'll see you again tomorrow. For Against the Public, I'm Dana Lane. All the best to you and your wagers on Saturday.